in addition to increasing your time gradually in the sun and not wearing sunglasses, like I mentioned, cutting out seed oils is also one of the main reasons why people don't sunburn. What's up, Captains? Welcome aboard another episode of the Captain's Lifestyle Podcast. In this episode, we're going to go over the 7 habits of highly ineffective people. But before we get into that, a word from our sponsors. First off, this episode is brought to you by LAMS, which is EMF blocking clothing. I like to call it wearable blueberries because it's essentially like you're wearing antioxidants, because EMFs cause oxidative stress in the body. And that's one of the main reasons why blueberries are so good for you, is because they're packed with antioxidants and they reduce that oxidative stress. That's the same thing that LAMS clothing does when you're wearing it, because it blocks up to 99% of EMFs. So it's essentially like you're wearing blueberries. So to get the hookup on anything from LAMS, head over to getlams.com and enter code Captain Morgan. Next up, this episode is brought to you by Aries, this little EMF modulating necklace that I've got on here and that my buddy Dave has on as well. What's cool about Aries is that they don't directly block the EMF, but instead they draw in the chaotic energy and modulate it so it's actually less harmful to the body. So this has been a game changer for travel. I've got one on the back of my phone as well. It's just a little sticker that you can place anywhere. I've got one on my Wi-Fi router. And this one has a effective range of 12 square feet. The stickers that you place on your phone or electronic devices has a radius of 12 square feet of protection. And then they make larger ones that are good for like your whole entire room. So extremely versatile, very effective and easy to use. All you got to do is set it somewhere and it's protecting you. So to get the hookup on anything from Aries, you can click the link in the description and use code Captain Morgan. That will save you 25% on anything from Aries. All right. Now, once everybody decides to get settled, we will jump into today's episode. So I put out a Instagram post today that was titled The 7 Habits That Will Ruin Your Life. And it's basically the 7 habits of ineffective people, a play off of Stephen Covey's 7 habits of highly effective people. This is the exact opposite, essentially. And the 7 habits were, Phil wrote them down, but I've got them pulled up here. It's number 1, checking your phone first thing in the morning. Number 2, complaining and blaming other people. Number 3, wearing sunscreen and sunglasses. Number 4, sleeping past sunrise. Number 5, not asking for help. Number 6, consuming seed oils. And number 7, watching porn. So in this episode, we're going to be going over why these 7 habits will ruin your life, because I only posted this post 2 hours ago and I've already gotten a lot of comments specifically on habit number 3, which is wearing sunscreen and sunglasses and watching porn. So a question right here, what about the skin cancer and sun exposure correlation? We've got some more comments like questioning wearing sunscreen, sunglasses. Somebody says, I don't know, seems like skin cancer is a pretty big life ruiner for me. Another one, I'm sorry, but no sunscreen is very important and frankly quite idiotic that you suggest it's dangerous to wear it. You do know the reason we get sunburn is the skin cells detect UV radiation and effectively kill themselves to protect the rest of the skin from harm. I don't understand, number 3, which is the sunscreen sunglasses. I'm curious, if you spend time in the outdoors and are in the sun, how do you protect your skin? We're going to get into all this. Somebody commented, is this guy for real? Do people actually listen to this bullshit? Bore off. That's it. That's a good one. Another one, shake my head. There are plenty of highly effective and in a lot of instances more effective than the captain doing 3, 4, 6, and 7, which are wearing sunscreen, sunglasses, sleeping past sunrise, consuming seed oils, and watching porn. It is highly dangerous for you to demonize wearing sunscreen and sunglasses. Yeah, and then we got. It's gonna be a fun one. So that's only some of the comments. So in this episode, we're going to be going over 1 through 7 and why they are ruining your life. And I've got my 2 friends here with me. We've got Almighty Dave and Waken Phil Welch. We're at the Wake and Ranch here in Minnesota. So let's dive into it, boys. Shall we?
Yeah.
All right. So habit number 1 that will ruin your life: checking your phone first thing in the morning. I actually made a post about this. What was it? Yesterday from my most recent podcast. You want to talk on that because you posted that reel?
Oh, on the which reel was it?
The one talking about what happens when you check your phone first thing in the morning.
Affirmations first. Well, I mean, I check my phone first thing in the morning when it's on red screen, but that's another feature. But
you're gonna have to speak up, son.
Yeah. All right, let's start this. Start this explanation over. I mean, obviously, you have an alarm set. It'd be nice to have an alarm that's not your phone, but everyone's using their phone for an alarm, so you got to at least look at it to turn it off. On iPhones, you can turn your phone red, but I think it's important not to see the first light being your phone, which is blue light. I think it's a good habit to get outside first thing in the morning to get the natural blue light from the sunrise to wake up. And if you check your phone, you're getting distracted with people telling you what to do, or emails or social media. It's just a bad habit to get into, as you turn your alarm off and go outside.
Yeah, and I'm going to take this in a little different route. Another reason why it's so bad to check your phone first thing in the morning is right when you wake up, your subconscious mind is the most programmable. So within the first 90 minutes of waking up, if you're consuming what I call OPP, other people's problems and priorities, so seeing all of the inflammatory posts that people post on Facebook, or getting all of the email notifications of everything you got to do at work, or getting texts from your friends saying, hey, can you do this for me? Whatever it is, if you start your morning off like that, that's how the rest of your day is going to go. You're going to be in this upregulated, stressed out state. So if you start your morning with OPP, other people's problems and priorities, then your whole rest of the day is going to be thrown off. Whereas instead, if you start your morning focused on you and doing the things that you enjoy, doing the things that are going to fill your cup and give you energy instead of drain your energy, then that's going to carry into the rest of your day. Especially if you start your morning off scrolling social media and you just get lost in the algorithm, essentially, it sucks you in, and it becomes very difficult to pull yourself out of that. You may find that you spend more time in bed than you wanted to because you're just laying in bed scrolling. So it may be difficult for you to get up. So checking your phone first thing in the morning is one of those habits that can and will ruin your life. I was recently on a high performance business mastermind with 6, 7, 8 figure earning entrepreneurs. And the thing that they all collectively said that they are struggling with most, that is draining them, that is taking away from their energy and productivity, is spending too much time on their devices and technology. And so if you start your day with that, like I said, that habit is going to continue throughout the day. So instead, keep your phone off, get up, do the Cage's morning ritual: cold exposure, affirmations, growth, exercise, and sunlight. Far better way to start your morning. Dave, do you have anything to say about checking your phone first thing?
Yeah, look what happens to your brain when you check your phone. Every time you open social media, it's like opening a new tab on a browser. And after closing the app, your brain isn't stopped working on whatever you consumed just a minute ago. It keeps working and working. And no wonder people are drained all day if they consume, and their brain cannot even process everything. So it's just like a million tabs open until the sleep, you get reset, and you wake up and you can instead of focusing on something to create, something you want to be better at, you just instantly start consuming. And what you consume is also a big thing. Most people consume what? A fake world on social media.
Yep. Yep. That's why my last podcast was all about, auditing your social media accounts. Unfollow the people who aren't inspirational, who don't provide you value, right? Cool. So that's all we'll cover for habit number 1. Habit number 2, complaining and blaming other people, aka the victim mentality, which let me define the victim mentality for you guys. The victim mentality is an acquired personality trait in which a person tends to regard themselves as the victim of the negative actions of others, even in the absence of clear evidence. The victim mentality depends on a habitual thought process and attributions. And the victim mentality is one of the main reasons why you're held back in whatever area of life that you're held back in. Because if you're constantly blaming other people or making excuses or whatever it is, you are giving your power, your time, attention, and energy, you're giving that to this other person. She made me depressed. He stresses me out. You're letting your thoughts, emotions, and actions be dictated by other people. That's what the victim mentality is. Dave, I know you just listened to my podcast episode 126 with Mark England today. Mm-hmm. Do you want to talk on some of the things that you heard about victim mentality?
Yeah, it's pretty much the same things you said already. It's like by like blaming other people, you give away the responsibility to the world to like tell you what you're supposed to feel, what you're gonna do, instead of like taking the responsibility, instead of saying like, yeah, hey, it's my fault that I feel this way. And this gives you power. This feels you, okay, we can work on this. We can like change how we feel when we take responsibility on why we feel that way.
Exactly. Once you realize that everything in your life is your fault, that's empowering, because that also means that everything in your life is up to you. It's in your control. Whereas if you give your power to everybody else, you're going to live a shitty life because everybody else is controlling your life. So take ownership. Exactly. Just like Dave said. All right, we'll go to habit number 3, just wearing sunscreen and sunglasses, the big one that everybody is all up in arms about.
It's like total brainwashed.
Yeah, they're brainwashed by, the media and all these articles and headlines. Wear sunscreen. The sun causes skin cancer. So I would like Phil, our resident expert in light, to talk about why we need to limit our use of sunscreen and sunglasses.
So I've always been a pale, freckled, kind of Northern European that burned really easy. And really, once you start learning the importance of, building up what's called a solar callus, or the ability to take in a lot of sun. So for some people, if you don't get out much, obviously getting out and getting full sun exposure and getting burned is going to be really bad for you. But as we can sit outside all day and not get burned, but we've been doing this for how many years? It doesn't take too long. I mean, you could get adapted within a couple weeks. The importance of getting out, though, in the sun is vitamin D1. If you put on sunscreen, you're reducing your vitamin D production in your skin by like 90%, maybe more, by just blocking, even if it's 15 FPS. You don't want
SPF.
SPF.
Sun protective factor.
Yeah. I haven't seen a sunscreen bottle in a long time. And then with sunglasses, our eyes are loaded with aromatic amino acids, specifically tryptophan, and we're supposed to get in UV light. So they have a benzene ring on these aromatic amino acids that absorb UV light and become other things, and UV light programs these. And specifically, that tryptophan becomes serotonin, and it becomes melatonin. And melatonin not only helps you sleep at night, but your mitochondria are also using it as like one of the most potent antioxidants directly during the day. And that can be a potent thing for protecting you against sun. So if you're wearing sunglasses, you're blocking that UV light, which is information from the sun telling you that you're outside, and your eyes are almost, it's your brain on the outside of your body. It's the gateway to your soul, into the brain. You have to treat your eyes with a lot of respect. So I can see why people would think wearing sunglasses is good to protect your eyes, because that's what we've been told. There's certain circumstances where it makes sense to wear sunglasses. Like if you're snowboarding and getting a lot of reflection off the sun, then what I would recommend is when you're going up after you're done skiing down or snowboarding down the hill, take off your goggles on the way back up, or halfway through, just to get that information in your eyes. And then if you're on a boat or, canoeing, or you're getting a lot of reflection off the water, it might make sense to wear sunglasses for some period of time. You posted that one, was it Eskimos or something like that, where they were wearing like almost like eye slit sunglasses, but light could still get in, but it just protected from the reflection. The only time I'd be really worried is if I was like close to the equator. Otherwise, I'm not really worried. My eyes can handle getting a lot of sun in them.
Yeah, and for sunglasses, the most important reason why you don't want to wear them is because light sets your circadian rhythm. So if you have trouble sleeping, the sunlight is the most important driving factor in your sleep quality. So that's why I say get out, watch the sunrise without sunglasses, because if you got the sunglasses on, your eyes won't register the amount of light, right? And also wearing sunglasses helps prevent you from burning as well, because when the light enters your eyes, that tells your body how much melanin to produce, which is what makes you tan. So if your eyes aren't getting that signal to know how bright it is, how much light exposure there is, and how much melanin to produce, then your body's going to be confused and you're not going to be building up that natural protection against the light. So if you're always wearing sunglasses and then you go to the beach that one day and you spend an hour at the beach and you sunburn, that's primarily because you hadn't built up that callus, like Phil said, due to sunscreen, sunglasses, because your body really didn't know how much melanin to produce in the first place. And then with sunscreen, you mentioned vitamin D, which is extremely important. Also, wearing sunscreen will blunt your nitric oxide production, because the UV rays from the sun also help boost nitric oxide production, which allows for a better blood flow, which is obviously good for sex. It's good for working out. It's good for reducing blood clots and blood pressure. So if you're constantly blocking that from the sun and you're not getting any of that UV exposure, yes, you're reducing your vitamin D and you're also reducing your nitric oxide, right? Which people take supplements for that. You can just go outside in the sun, and also nasal breathing for that matter.
What I would add is windows being indoors will also do the similar. It'll block UV and some infrared. So when you're driving your car, I think it makes sense to crack your windows to let in UV light. And I would add also that blood circulates through your eye your entire blood, like circulatory system, all the blood goes through your eye every 7 minutes. So even if you can't get your skin in the sun, you're getting a lot of benefits if you can get outside for any period of time without sunglasses or glasses on. Get outside, and for 5 minutes, you're circulating that blood through your eyes, and it's doing something. It's complex stuff of getting sun in your eyes.
Yeah. So now let's tell people how they can avoid sunburning. So you think, oh, I can't wear sunscreen or sunglasses. How am I going to get out in the sun and not burn? One, like Phil said, start to build that callus. So watch the morning sunrise. That is going to tell your body how much light there is. It's going to help your circadian rhythm. It's going to increase dopamine and serotonin. So sunrise is basic. Watch the sunrise.
If you can't get that, red light panels build a solar callus. Even just the infrared light helps you build your skin to be protected when you get out in the sun.
Mm-hmm. And we use the company GembaRed. You can use code Captain Morgan at GembaRed.com. The link will be in the description. So yeah, once you get the morning sun exposure, then get blocks of time throughout the day, like 10 to 15 minutes throughout the day, multiple times of sun exposure. So not like this big, huge chunk of time to where you could burn, but like 3 increments of 10 minutes throughout the day that help build that tolerance, to help allow your body to know how bright it is, how much melanin to start producing. And you just increase that over time. Then like the next week, you make it 12-minute increments, then 15-minute increments, and you just slowly build up. And you just keep doing that until melanin production increases. And then you're able to spend hours like we are out in the sun and be totally fine and not burn at all. In addition to increasing your time gradually in the sun and not wearing sunglasses, like I mentioned, cutting out seed oils is also one of the main reasons why people don't sunburn. It's because they don't have all that oxidative stress from the seed oils. There's also certain nutrients that you should make sure that you get to avoid sunburns. I think vitamin A is one, retinol.
There's some things in seafood, anything that's red, so like krill, crab,
which is vitamin
lobster.
A, right? Isn't that
it's like X-taxazine or something like that?
Yeah.
Astaxanthin.
Yeah, that's one.
Astaxanthin is another good one. What's that found in? Seafood? I know it's in some fish oils.
Yeah, krill oil.
Yeah, that's why some people take krill oil.
Salmon
fish
has
oil.
it.
Okay.
Salmon, yeah.
Yeah, so cutting out seed oils, gradually increasing your sun exposure over time, not wearing sunglasses. Those are like the best things that you can do to start to tan without getting burnt. Dave, you also take a peptide that raises melanin production. You want to talk just briefly on that?
Yes, basically that. It's like melatonin. Like, what is a peptide? It's basically the information to produce something in your body. So melatonin just like gives your body the information and tells them like, hey, produce more of this stuff. And if you combine it with sunlight, you don't have any problems, don't get burned at all. But in general, what I want to go back to is like, why do people burn in the first place? It's like, what do they eat? They eat like highly processed food, damaged fats and all that stuff. And everything you eat will become you, become your skin, become everything. So if you have like damaged molecules you eat and they become your cells and your skin, no wonder they break that easily.
Yeah, specifically the fats.
Yeah.
If you eat damaged fats from seed oils, you're going to have a damaged body. That's going to sunburn much easier, right?
I would also go beyond, I think things you put on your skin can also cause sunburn. I just like to stay away from any kind of lotions or anything that can also, any kind of, those are chemicals anyways, but I would avoid putting anything on your skin, even lotions when you go out in the sun, besides maybe a saturated fat like coconut oil or ghee or tallow or something.
Yeah, what people don't realize is that like your skin is your biggest organ. So everything you put on your skin will get absorbed. Would you eat sunscreen? Hell no. Like you can taste it instantly that it's not good for you.
That's what we got to talk about is the argument why you wouldn't do sunscreen, even if, as from a chemical standpoint, you could put on your face. The times I have used sunscreen, I've used pure zinc. When I'm surfing, that's the only time I'll actually burn because you're dead up to you're getting the reflection from the sun and you're out there for a couple hours. That's the time I'll put it on my face.
Yeah, to clarify, I'm not saying to never use sunscreen. I'm saying to not use the store-bought sunscreens that most people get, like from Coppertone or whatever these brands are that contain artificial chemicals.
And use it as minimal as possible, like tops of your ears, your nose, the places that really get a lot of sun on your face and stuff. You can throw on a shirt. Otherwise, like if you start to feel, we're smart about it. We can feel when we're getting too much sun. Just like an animal should know when it needs to go to shade that's too hot. I have that same response where it's like, okay, I need to take a break into the shade. So like if I'm in Mexico, really, really strong sun, I'm in and out of shade without sunscreen. And I could spend all day in shade down there and you're still getting a lot of UV light and making the vitamin D even when you're in the shade. So that's a good way to, for somebody who burns easy or who's new to getting sun and they're pale or that you're going on a trip and you just don't have the tolerance, you get a lot of benefits in the shade. You're still getting the benefits. But if you're put on the sunscreen, then you're automatically just putting a tarp on your body. And worst comes to worst, put on a shirt or long sleeves. But don't put on the sunscreen because that can last on your skin for a while.
Yeah, fun fact, if you do get sunburned, then the lamb's clothing, like I mentioned, they also block UV light. So the times that I was sunburned from spending too much time, usually it's just the top of my shoulders that get red. Then I'll put on the lamb shirt because that blocks the UV light. So another benefit from using lambs. And then back to the sunscreen. Yeah, again, we're not saying to never use sunscreen. Just don't use the chemical sunscreen, like the ones that you probably have that are filled with chemicals. Stop using those because of the reasons we just mentioned. They block vitamin D, they block nitric oxide. They actually contribute to you burning and getting skin cancer. It's not the sun that causes skin cancer. It's improper exposure to the sun that can cause cancer. And also there's chemicals found in sunscreens that have been proven to cause cancer. So instead, they also can contribute to bleaching coral reefs. I don't know a whole lot of information about that, but I know that that's been a problem of in the summertime when everybody's got the wearing the sunscreen. And that's because it's just like on your body, it blocks the UV exposure. So all the little critters in the ocean, they need UV light as well. So if the oceans are covered with this layer of UV protecting film, then of course that's going to damage the delicate ecosystem.
And
there
they are toxic chemicals like the benzenes and what makes sunscreen white is the something oxide.
I don't know.
They put it in food too, so avoid things that are white, colored white.
If you are going to get a sunscreen, make sure it's 100% natural and zinc based. I personally don't use that sunscreen at all. I only use coconut oil, which is naturally about 4 to 8 SPF. So for those times that I am out in the sun for just hours at a time with limited shade, I'll just rub coconut oil on my body, and that's totally fine. I never burn because I built that sun callus, and I never wear sunglasses, never wear sunscreen. So my body's just used to it by now. And coconut oil is fantastic. It's obviously all natural. It's got a lot of benefits to it. So that's all the time that we'll spend on sunscreen and sunglasses. I hope that clarifies some things. Next up, habit number 4, sleeping past sunrise. We won't go too in depth into this one because we touched on it with watching the sunrise. Like I said, sunlight is the primary driving factor in setting your circadian rhythm, which is basically your body's internal clock that tells you when to be awake and alert, when to be most productive, when it's time to go to bed. And what happens in today's technology-ridden society is that we've got things backwards. Cortisol is low in the morning when it is supposed to be high, and it is high in the evening when it is supposed to be low because we're up late working under artificial blue lights, staring at our screens that raise cortisol. And then in the morning, that's why we're tired. We wake up groggy because we're not getting the melatonin production from watching the sunrise, because once you get the sunrise into your eyeballs, melatonin production shuts off, so it wakes you up, and it resets melatonin production for 14 to 16 hours later. So watching the sunrise in the morning actually wakes you up and helps you sleep better that night. So get as much bright light exposure from the sun in the morning as you can, and limit as much light exposure as you can in the evening. So get up, watch the sunrise. That's by far the best thing that you can do for overall health, happiness, productivity. Again, because it raises serotonin, dopamine, makes you more productive, boosts your mood, sets your circadian rhythm.
Every biological function is probably tied to your circadian rhythm and circadian mechanisms.
Yeah.
Right behind your eyes is the suprachiasmatic nucleus, which is the master clock, and that seems to control peripheral clock genes, billions of them all over your body, and they dictate hormones. Really, even just pinpointing little things like we did with serotonin, melatonin, all those, that's just things we can barely touch. I mean, it's infinitely complex. It just get out and appreciate the sun. It's really what I described. It's God and an infinite complexity.
Yeah. Captains, watch the sunrise. All right. Next habit, not asking for help. This is a big one, especially as men. We are conditioned to do everything ourselves, right? We're conditioned to not ask for directions. We're conditioned to just be a man, right? We're like, what does that mean? That you can't ask for help? That you can't get support in whatever it is that you're working on, that you have to do everything alone? And this idea of being a lone wolf and self-made man, that's all bullshit. No man is an island. You can't achieve these great things without the help of other great men. And especially if you're struggling with something and you just suppress those feelings and don't talk to anybody about it, that's the worst thing that you can do. That's why it's so important to have a crew of men who support you, of close friends who you can talk to about anything, about things that you're struggling with. And it's sad today to see men, especially veterans, as I'm a veteran, so many men just keep these things to themselves. And then all of a sudden you hear that they've committed suicide. Especially the numbers are extremely high for veterans, like I mentioned. And it's because we think that it makes us weak to ask for help, to reach out to somebody, to admit that we're struggling. When in fact, it's the exact opposite. If you think you're an alpha male, and you keep all your problems deep buried inside, and you're gonna go to the gym to work them out, like that's not how it works. That's a very good way to become overwhelmed, stressed out, burnt out, and ultimately depressed, right? So talk about your issues. I can speak from experience. I used to think the same things, and that's why the Captain's Lifestyle crew is so beneficial. It's literally a crew. Here are two of the crew members right here, Dave and Phil, both members of the Captain's Lifestyle crew. And we hop on a weekly coaching and accountability call to talk about things that we're struggling with in daily life. We also host monthly masterminds where, I have guests from this podcast come on and basically give a 40 to 60 minute mastermind class on whatever their area of expertise is. So,
and what I would say is, even if you don't think you would feel comfortable sharing, once you get into one of our group calls and you hear somebody share something and see all the support and help, it can, it almost triggers something in you to open up and ask for anything that's going on. Once you're in that scenario. And I guess it's a good opportunity to thank Taylor for kind of having this, he's very open, on these calls, which opens up everybody else on the call. So we can all support and help each other. So, and then also, I see just from a business perspective, you're really good at reaching out on Instagram for people to help you even at things you're not good at or need help on. You're always looking for help, whether it's emotional or it's in business.
Yep. Once I realized that asking for help is basically a superpower, like ask and you shall receive. So there are some things that I am not an expert in, like Dave here, he's an expert in creating content. And he messaged me saying, "Hey, I just quit my job." I'm like, "Awesome. What are you going to do?" He's like, "I don't know." I was like, "Well, what do you like doing?" He's like, "Creating content, video editing." I was like, "You want to work for me?" He's like, "Sure." And so we started working together. So yeah, I am always going through at least one like personal development course. I've always got at least one coach or mentor, because it really is that important. If somebody has been through what you're going through now and has achieved what you want to achieve, why wouldn't you ask for help from them? The longer you just try to do it yourself or figure it out on your own, you're just wasting time, energy, and money. Whereas if you could just ask this person, invest your time and energy into this person who has achieved what you want to achieve, who has gone through what you have gone through, who can offer you support, why would you try to figure it out on your own? It's like, so yeah.
Yeah, I don't know where this like lone wolf idea came from, because humans are tribal creatures. Like no human in nature would have survived by themselves. No one. They would have been killed instantly by like some animal or starved to death, anything. Like we're like literally made to like be in groups, being with like like-minded people. That's how we thrive. That's how we like conquer the world.
speaking of conquering the world, that is what the Captain's Lifestyle crew is going to do. Our purpose is to hashtag make thriving standard. And that's what we're doing collectively, because once we become better men, the people around us become better just from having interacted with us or watching us. It becomes an inspiration to people. So that's what we're doing in the Captain's Lifestyle crew and on these group calls. So like I mentioned, weekly group coaching and accountability calls with me and the other members of the Captain's Lifestyle crew, monthly high performance masterminds. You also get access to a knowledge database that I update in categories like mindset, sleep, nutrition, exercise, biohacking, time management, all these things. You also get first access to and exclusive discounts on future events and programs, like the next round of the Captain's Lifestyle program, which is happening in January, our in-person event that will be happening next month. And the only way to attend is to be a crew member. So you get an exclusive discount on that. So yeah, join the fucking crew. If you're a man out there who's listening right now and you're like, shit, that sounds good, click the link in the description. That will take you to join the crew, and you'll be able to talk with us on a weekly basis. Get some support. All right. Next habit, we've got number 6, consuming seed oils. So again, we won't spend too much time on this one because we already mentioned it with the sunscreen and sunglasses. But the main thing that's wrong with seed oils is that they cause massive amounts of inflammation in the body. Because like Dave mentioned, they are damaged fats. And if you consume these damaged fats, your cells are damaged, specifically your brain, because your brain is made out of roughly 75% fat, I believe. And most of that is DHA. So if you're consuming these damaged fats, your brain, your neurons are going to be made out of those damaged fats, which is going to cause things like brain fog, fatigue, trouble focusing from the foods that you're consuming. So by cutting out the seed oils, you reduce inflammation, both neural inflammation and just complete body inflammation. That's going to improve your body composition. That's going to improve your brain function. That's going to improve your mood, your energy levels. Everything gets better once you cut out seed oils. And just to give an example of seed oils, we've got things like canola oil, vegetable oil, sunflower oil, soybean oil, safflower oil, peanut oil, palm and palm kernel oil, which are doubly bad because if you get palm oil, that contributes to deforestation because they just chop down the rainforest and plant palm oil trees. So you're causing inflammation in your body and killing orangutans. So
would you consider coconut oil a seed oil? Because it's a nut, but coconut oil would be a good one to consume.
Yeah.
Butter, ghee, animal fats,
Avocado oil.
avocado oil.
But I would just point out that it's a hack of if you make that a goal to never eat seed oils, you're looking at the list. It cuts out you don't need to know anything else because foods that you shouldn't be eating, if a company puts in seed oils, you don't want to be eating that because there's probably 10 other things that are poisonous in it. So it's an easy thing to just look at it and be like, oh, they're using seed oils. I can't trust them as a company. Throw it out. And the other aspect, it cuts out a lot of fast food. It's like you can eat Chipotle.
And that's it.
Probably not the dressing though. Like a salad. So salads become difficult to eat because you need a higher end salad dressing like avocado. They use avocado oil or MCT oil.
Yeah. And it takes about 60 days to completely rid your body of these inflammatory oils. So
it might actually be like 3 years for you to actually turn over your cells.
Okay.
Completely.
Well, anywhere from
but you can make
3 months to 3
drastic
years.
increase in 3 days by not consuming seed oils.
For real. It's a huge difference. So now let's get into the last habit that was also controversial, watching porn. So I've already recorded a whole podcast on this, so we don't have to dive too deep into it. But that's episode 131 with Zack Blakeney, and it's titled Porn, Overcoming Addictions and Escaping the Matrix with Zack Blakeney. And we talk about my own personal porn addiction, his porn addiction, and habits that you can put in place to decrease your reliance on porn, to pull yourself out of that matrix, essentially, of pornography. And so, yeah,
Dopamine.
we could go so many different routes with this. I don't want the whole episode to be about this, because there's so many things that we could say, but
I would say how it goes with the other posts. One, wearing sunscreen and sunglasses lowers your dopamine. Watching porn lowers your dopamine. So it kind of goes. My goal in life recently has been to reduce my addiction to everything. And that could be technology beyond just porn, watching mindless TV at night, video games, I group it in with porn. Anything that is just quick dopamine hits to forget your problems, and or you have a long to-do list, and it's easy enough to just forget about it and mindlessly watch TV or
scroll
porn,
social media.
Social media is the other one. Any of these big dopamine hits. But yeah, I mean, porn's affected all of us at some level. I definitely was a bigger porn watcher when I was in college, and things that you've talked to, we've all kind of experienced almost erectile dysfunction from just watching too much porn and then not being aroused in the situation. Then you wonder what's wrong with you, and to the point of even like, oh, am I gay? It's like, what is going on? And now, that was like college, where it was I was unhealthy in a lot of ways. When you do all of these things that boost nitric oxide, everything on this list helps get a boner in a lot of ways. By not watching porn, that just kind of
it's not just the dopamine system that gets messed up. It's like you get a wrong view about intimacy with a girl. You think you have to perform in some kind of way, but it's so far off. Real intimacy is so different than whatever you see in a porn.
Yeah, it's not intimacy.
Yeah,
it's just stick and poke. It's just sex.
Yeah,
it's such a false reality of what an actual relationship and intimacy is. The view is just so skewed. And I talked about this on the episode with Zack Blakeney. I used to have what I now consider to be porn-induced erectile dysfunction, because I was watching pornography and I had no problem getting an erection. And then with an actual woman, I wasn't as aroused. It's because it wasn't happening exactly like it was in the porns. And you'd have to, with pornography, another thing, this relates to the dopamine, is you start watching ever increasingly deviant porns,
or you have to scroll for an hour before you
scrolling for an hour, finding something that is just perfect. And so there's that. There's the dopamine. Then we can talk about semen retention, how every time you ejaculate, you are releasing your masculine energy. You are releasing your vitality. That's why as soon as you ejaculate, what do you want to do? You want to relax and go to bed, right? So
your posture, everything changes once you...
Everything changes. Posture, just
you feel really good if you can go 2 weeks without, ejaculating.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's hard to make it past those, but it's also different between, I don't know. It's too complex to go down.
From my experience, semen retention has been a freaking superpower. And this was the last addiction that I had to overcome, was pornography and frequent masturbation. And the level of mental clarity, of vitality, of motivation and drive has just been through the roof. Now that I'm not fucking jerking off every day and just releasing my masculine energy, because it takes your body so much energy to create that. Your semen literally creates another human life. So a lot of energy goes into that. There's a lot of nutrients in your semen. And if you're just blowing your load to meaningless pornography, that's not only going to mess up your dopamine levels, it's also going to reduce your energy, reduce your mood, reduce your overall energy, and just like your aura as a man. I've heard that women who are in touch with their divine feminine can actually tell if a man watches porn or ejaculates, because you can just see it in the man. Like you give off this certain aura if you ejaculate frequently or if you rely on pornography. It's obvious to the divine feminine, and the divine feminine wants nothing to do with a man who watches pornography and just basically gives up his seed to.
What's that book you recommend?
I just got it today. The Enlightened Sex Manual by David Dita. I haven't read it yet.
The other one that I had read last week.
The Way of the Superior Man.
Yeah, that's a good one. I mean,
that's a fantastic book.
All of this.
He talks about semen retention in there.
I think your wife or girlfriend, they can sense if you watch porn, and not in a way that they'll be able to call you out on it. Some people will watch porn and whatnot so they can last longer at sex. I think that's just an excuse you're making. But your wife or significant other will feel it in you, in your interest in them. Even just how you carry yourself in the day. Yeah, my wife definitely can pick up on it, and it affects her mood. So me watching porn affects her mood and can bring her down. So I think it's so important to stomp it out.
Yep. And by not watching porn and ejaculating so frequently, that translates to your performance in bed. You're able to last longer. You're able to have stronger erections. You're able to control when you ejaculate. And I guess that we'll leave it there, because we could go deeper into like breath work and how to hold off from ejaculating. But my recommendation is, if you're looking into semen retention, I would say whatever your frequency is now, whether that's 2 times a day, once a day, 3 times a week, whatever it is now, just decrease that. So go from doing it twice a day to once a day.
And go to using your mind.
Yeah.
I wouldn't
close your eyes, meditate.
Yeah, I wouldn't start there to get to there. But when you're just starting out, I would say just decrease.
Don't watch videos. Watch non-pornographic photos. I don't know.
Yeah,
and I feel like you can start making excuses for yourself when you start doing that. But
yeah, whatever you're doing now, just decrease it.
Yeah,
decrease it, and then eventually go away from pornography completely. And eventually, you will get to a point to where you can just use your mind. And not thinking about like these whatever types of porn you were watching, but you can actually create like this ideal relationship with either an imaginary person or somebody that like with your significant other. You can imagine this in your head and then ejaculate to that instead, which is way more powerful than somebody who you don't even care about. That doesn't even matter. So 1, decrease your frequency. And like Phil mentioned, yes, stop watching porn and start to use your mind. It's going to be difficult at first. That's the point. That's all these habits will start out difficult, and that's what builds resilience. That's the whole point of all these.
That gives you like true power. If you like learn how to like control your primal urges and resist like urges like watching porn, watching social media, it gives you so much power you can utilize in other projects and accomplish your goals.
It really does. That's why I said it's a superpower, because if you can refrain from like the most primal masculine urge, which is to ejaculate, which the purpose of that is to create another human life. But we've gotten away from that and we're just watching porn. So if you can control that desire, you can do anything. You become more productive at work. You become a better man. You just show up in life as the like higher version of yourself, because you're not controlled by any of your desires. You're not addicted to anything at that point.
I would say become addicted to the sun, because getting sunlight raises your dopamine. In today's world, we're all kind of, even if we don't want to admit it, we're low dopamine, or we are all in this game of trying to raise our dopamine through coffee. A lot of times, once you cut out one addiction, you pick up something else. I would say cut out your addictions and replace it with sunlight.
And ice baths.
Ice baths is a good one. And it also just gives you that mental toughness to, you start your morning with a cold bath, gives you that mental toughness to say no later to things that you're addicted to.
Yeah. Ice baths boost dopamine by up to 200%. So we're all chasing the same thing, right? We're all chasing this feeling of freedom or euphoria or happiness, whatever it is. But most people achieve that through destructive means, through scrolling social media, through watching porn, through drugs or alcohol, which you can still achieve this same feeling, but change the modality in which you get there. So instead of getting your dopamine from scrolling social media, get your dopamine from an ice bath. Instead of using coffee to wake you up, get your cortisol spike from the sunrise in the morning. So it's not that you don't, the feelings that you have now are fleeting. Like if you're always chasing happiness and chasing the high of whatever it is, of the dopamine through scrolling, through, energy, whatever it is, if you're constantly chasing that thing, if instead you can take out the destructive habit, replace it with a constructive habit, a natural habit, watching the sunrise, ice baths, breath work, you still achieve the same feeling, except this time it's a real feeling that lasts, that you can just, that you don't have to chase. It just, you have it. I need to think of a better way to explain that, but it's not artificial. It's not artificial energy. It's not artificial dopamine. It's not artificial satisfaction. Once you change your lifestyle habits to these things that we're mentioning, it's like you're actually fulfilled. And then it becomes a choice whether or not to consume coffee or to watch porn or to have nicotine or whatever. As long as you are in control of your mind and your decisions, it's not that, drinking coffee is bad or watching porn all the time is bad. Like if you and your significant other want to sit down and watch some porn together, I think that's okay on occasion, as long as you set an intention to it and you're not controlled by your mind. You are controlling the situation.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Right? Mm-hmm. So one of my favorite quotes from Shakespeare in Hamlet, he says, "Nothing is either good or bad, but thinking makes it so." So I guess to wrap this all up, like I consume seed oils on occasion. I don't really wear sunscreen. Sometimes I'll wear sunglasses if it's like for a fashion statement, right? Not that these things that we talked about are all bad and you have to avoid them for the rest of your life. It's that I want you to be conscious of your decisions. If you're just on autopilot and you're not aware of the repercussions of doing these things constantly, you can still do them sometimes, right? Like splurge, have a night out, consume seed oils in your
alcohol. We all drink.
Yeah.
We all have fun.
It's all about balance and moderation and understanding the impacts of these things and not letting anything control you except you. Basically just becoming conscious of these things and controlling your mind.
And ask for help.
Ask for help. Join the crew.
Yeah.
Click the link in the description.
You'd be surprised how many people will have the same problems, and even if you don't want to share your problems, somebody else will probably share one, and you'll learn from the responses of other people and how we help them.
Yep. Sweet. All right, boys. Good?
Yep.
All right. That's it for today's episode. Thank you guys for listening. I hope you took something away from it. If you did, please share this episode with somebody else who can benefit from it. And tag me on social media so I can repost it. So till next time, don't forget, live the captain's lifestyle.